Hello, everyone. My guest today is Fabrice Grindal. He's the co-founder of FJ Labs, a venture capital firm headquartered in New York City with a portfolio of 481 startups. Prior to co-founding FJ Labs, Fabrice and his business partner Alex Oxenford co-founded OLX Inc. in 2006 with the hopes of building the largest free local classified site in the world. As co-CEO, Fabrice drove the company business development, investor relations, M&A, and product development efforts until 2012. OLX has now over 300 employees and is present in over 90 countries, 50 languages, with over 150 million unique visitors per month. So, Fabrice, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, it's a pleasure to have you, man. So let's dive right into it. Tell us and the audience a little bit more about how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, I'm French originally, and I guess in 1984, when I was 10, I got my first computer, and it was really love at first click. Basically, realized there's an extraordinary avenue for creative expression where if you learn a program, you could basically build whatever it is you wanted. And so started building computers, programming, etc. in the 80s and early 90s, um, to the point that when the internet started becoming born, I guess, in the mid 90s, I saw the creation of Mosaic and Netscape, etc. It was obvious that it was what I was supposed to be doing in the future. Now, when I graduated from Princeton, where I went to the US for college, I actually didn't go directly into tech just because I figured I needed some sort of like business background. And so I went to McKinsey, which is kind of business school, except they pay you for 2 years. Then I thought I might miss the bubble in doing so, but I didn't. So ultimately went back to Europe, built a company called Auckland, which is an eBay for Europe, and out of that helped build an eBay of Latin America called Teremate. Raised like tens of millions of venture money, grew the company in Europe to 150 employees, sold it, but ultimately the bubble burst, lost pretty much everything. And but realized, you know what, I like being an entrepreneur. I like creating something out of nothing. And even though this internet thing may not be big and it's kind of dead, I'd rather do that than anything else. And so I came back to the US. I built a company called Ziggy, which was a large ringtone mobile content company in the US. I mean, it was really, really hard. Missed payroll many times. But ultimately grew the company from 1 million in revenues in '02 to 5 million in '03 to 50 million in '04 to 200 million in '05. So 1 to 200 million revenues in 4 years. Became profitable, sold it, and then went on to build OLX. And OLX was really what Craigslist should have been or could be if they moderated the content and created a family friendly, frankly, female oriented experiences for people to find everything and anything that they might need in their life. And the company now is in over 30 countries with over 300 million unique visitors a month and 5,000 employees. I sold the company in late 2012 and then went on to build FJ Labs. And FJ Labs really is because I realized I like building companies, I like investing in startups, and so let's create a structure that allows me to do both. Where every year I invest in about 100 startups and build 1 or 2 companies. Today, to give you a sense of scale, we've invested in 558 startups. We've had over 191 exits, and yeah, things are going really, really well, and so it's really fun.
What are some of your most exciting startups right now in FJ Labs? Give us your top three.
Well, I'm not sure I think of it like that. It's like, do you pick your amongst your favorite children? Um, the and also exciting is in the eye of the beholder, right? Like some of the companies that are doing extraordinarily well are maybe more well known. So we're investors in a company called Flexport, which is like reinventing logistics, and so like a digital freight forwarder, and they're absolutely crushing it. We're investors in a company called RigUp, which is a oil services worker marketplace. If you want to hire people in that category, they've kind of become the LinkedIn slash staffing agency of the industry. They're doing like over 1 billion in sales. But I also love some of the vertical transactional marketplaces. I mean, we're investors in a pizza online ordering app called Slice. And the
I
reason
know
I
that.
love them, yeah, they're doing hundreds of millions in sales. And the reason I love them is they actually really make the lives of the owners of the pizzerias much better by doing a lot of the work they don't like to do. They create websites for them. They pick up the phone. They answer in Google Answers and Yelp and TripAdvisor. They create packaging. And so a lot of these marketplaces are really helping the lives of the people that are running these small businesses and improving them and allowing them to compete with a larger enterprise at La Domino's pretty effectively. And we're seeing this in every category. Another one of my favorite companies is a company called Fresha, which provides basically hairdressers and salons and spas, etc., with a free online booking engine, such that clients can book reservations there, and they don't take any commission on that. They only take commission if they bring you new clients. But for your existing
Hmm.
clients, they charge nothing, and they're grown to now over 300 million a month in bookings. I mean, 3.6 billion a year.
Wow.
So the scale is really, really impressive. But frankly, there are lots of companies that I think are really, really interesting in the portfolio. And the reason in general that I do this is kind of the mission-driven purpose of harnessing the deflationary power of technology to improve people's purchasing power and to create better user experiences. And so all of the companies that we invest in one way, shape, or form, actually fulfill that mission.
Got it. Got it. So you have had a long journey. What have been some of the top resources that have helped you as an entrepreneur and investor along the way?
I suppose most people would go and think through, oh, these people were my mentors. That hasn't really been my case. I mean, in the 1980s, I was like reading about Bill Gates and Steve Jobs from afar, right? I was in Nice in France, and there were no one I could really look up to or interact with
Hmm.
that made sense. The the resources I've been using of late, frankly, it's like Upwork. I outsource everything and anything that I can in life that is not my core function, and so I have amazing assistants on your remote assistant. I hire people to do research or on Upwork or Catalent, which used to be called Hourly Nerd. The Basically it's leveraging the power of the internet. I mean, if you want a graphic artist, you can find amazing people on Upwork. If you want developers, you can find amazing people there. And so using the resources writ large, and it's especially true in this day and age where with a no code trend, you can build many things without knowing any underlying coding. So it's become a lot cheaper to build startups than ever before. Now, beyond that, there are a number of people that I started working with over the years that basically have kept working with. And so once you have a team that you like, you stay with them forever. I mean, I met my VP of marketing when I was 14. He was an intern in the computer store across the street from my grandmother's in Nice. My CFO I met in my Zingy days in the 2001, 2005 time period. You know, that was 20 years ago, and we still work together to this day. And it's true with my business partners, et cetera. I met them all pretty much in the 90s or early 2000. I've continued to do that. So it's kind of a set of relationships that you build with colleagues, with investors, that you keep that you keep throughout your life. That makes you way more effective, especially as you learn to delegate more and micromanage more as you become a more mature entrepreneur and individual. In terms of external resources, you know, the reality is I don't really consume many of those because I don't read news per se. You know, maybe I'll check tech meme in the tech space, but avoiding reading news, I think, a very fundamental core tenet of avoiding being either a trend follower or being surrounded by the negativity that
Yeah.
permeates in this world where everything is sensational, negative, and pointless. So I
What
wouldn't
books do you
recommend
currently read?
Ah, books I read a lot of.
Mhm.
I read 50 to 100 books a year, but they're not all. In fact, almost none of them are business books. They're
Oh,
more
really?
like, yeah, because again, business. I don't know. Business books are full of platitudes. I think it's more interesting to read like about history, you know, things like *Sapiens* or the biography of Alexander Hamilton or of Rockefeller and then I read a lot of sci-fi and fantasy. So just on a
Wow,
given year,
it's
if I
interesting.
read 100 books, let's be clear, of probably over 150 or Star Force books 1 through 15, Build of Empire, and yeah, I read for fun, and it just so happens that when you read things that are I don't know, fun, I think you get something out of them as well at the same time. Yeah, I mean, look, am I going to read Ray Dalio's Principles? Absolutely, and things like that, but they're not traditional business books either,
True.
or 0 to 1 or things like that. But to answer your question, what I'm currently reading, so I just finished not that month, a few months ago, Why We Sleep, which I thought was one of the
It's on
scariest
my
books I'd
list
ever.
for next week.
Yeah, one of the scariest books I've ever read, and made me actually make pretty fundamental changes to the way I structured my life in terms of making sure I slept more. I love How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan, and the book I'm currently reading is a book called Lifespan by David Sinclair. David Sinclair is the head researcher at Harvard Medical School on gerontology, and he's written a book on how to increase healthy quality of life, basically, and what are all the hacks. So when you combine it with Why We Sleep, I think it gives you a lot of the tools for uh, living a healthy life for a lot longer.
Mm, got it, got it. So, what do you think your core trait is that has helped you become successful during your journey?
I suspect that for most people, the core trait that makes them successful is something like tenacity, grit, and finding a specific problem that they want to fix. I have a lot of traits that do not support that purpose. I'm not sure they help. They partly help me be a better human being. I'm not sure they help me be successful, but I'm insatiably curious, and curiosity is great in the sense that it leads me to read a lot of books and to know a lot about a lot of topics. But I'm actually not sure it's helped me along the journey, because it makes me, I don't know if ADD is the right word, but it definitely makes me go down a lot of rabbit holes of like studying, reading on a whole bunch of topics, which I'm not sure are that helpful. I mean, many of the best entrepreneurs I know are completely monomaniacal, driven by one problem. And so some of the underlying traits that I have, like curiosity, I'm not sure actually ultimately lead you to be more successful. I think they make you more interesting human being, and you have more things to talk about when you're interacting with other people in the context of dinner parties or social events. But I'm not sure they've led me to be successful. The same could be said for intelligence, like, right? Being really smart. I'm not. It is maybe lightly positively correlated to success, but probably not all that strongly. The the grit, tenacity, monomaniacal passion, and zeal that one might have, I think, is probably ultimately more effective for a narrow out definition of success, which is, let's say, business success and or financial success.
Yeah, okay. Okay, got it. So let's jump back to FJ Labs, to the company. So what's the area of the companies that you're invested in? Is it all tech companies, or what kind of companies is it usually?
Yeah, no, we only invest in tech companies, and frankly, even more specifically in marketplaces and online marketplaces, which you can find in frankly every industry and every geography. Now, the reason I do online is those are scalable and actually allow me, with very little capital, you can build something really large that impacts the lives of many, and actually allows me to fulfill the underlying core mission, which is harnessing this deflationary power of technology to make people's lives better and make the world a better place. And
Mm-hmm.
the only way to do it is through tech, right? So the way I see all of the challenges that we face at a global level, from climate change to inequality, which is indirectly, I guess, leading to the rise of populism, I think we will address thanks to technology in the coming decades. And so I'm using technology as the vector for solving the world's ills. And I'm very, very optimistic and confident that we're going to address all of the challenges that we're currently facing through technology. And so uh, it has to be, for me, technology as the core to the solution that we're looking for, because it is scalable. It can actually be impactful.
True.
So only invest in technology. Now, the reason we do marketplaces is I like the idea of bringing transparency and liquidity to opaque and fragmented markets, and that efficiency, something that I love, especially as these ideas are more capital efficient by nature, as you don't need to have inventory, supply chain, et cetera. And so you can actually build with much less capital, much larger companies.
Got it. Okay. No, that's super interesting explanation. So let's wrap up here with the fantastic four. Question number one: is there a CEO that you're following or studying right now?
The CEO that I'm following or studying. I am. Well, there are a lot of amazing CEOs in the portfolio, like Ryan Peterson, who's heading Flexport, or Schwan, who's heading RigUp. In terms of studying per se, and if you mean external people that are doing interesting things, I don't know.
Just so, yeah, just someone where you kind of like learn from, or consume content from.
Not really, to be honest. Like, it's always interesting and fascinating to see how different people behave, interact, and like, so observing the way Elon creates chaos, I think, kind of intentionally as a means of unleashing creativity, I think is interesting. But I don't really consume that much content from others, so I don't pay that much attention to
Got it.
readings, writings, etc. So yeah, not really, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's fine. No worries. Do you have any routines that you strictly follow on a day-to-day basis?
The I'm highly scheduled.
Hmm.
So people do not know how to multitask, especially those who tell you they can multitask. So it's very important to monotask, and so have all notifications turned off, have all vibrations turned off, have all rings turned off. Like, be present in whatever it is you're doing. And so I will schedule in my agenda everything that I'll do. Like, oh, I'll do emails from 10 to 11. I'll do this call from 11 to 12. I'll do this. But when I'm doing that, I'm only doing that. So no notifications, no distractions, no doing multiple things at the same time. This way, your mind is 100% focused on the present. And so even though my days change pretty dramatically from one day to the other, given what my job entails, which sometimes is meeting VCs to talk about the market, ensure deal flows, sometimes we're meeting new entrepreneurs to evaluate their startups, sometimes we're meeting existing entrepreneurs to help them with their business and fundraise, sometimes it's coming up with new business ideas or companies we want to build,
Mm.
or being on the board of companies. So my days change pretty dramatically, but the everything is kind of scheduled, because if it's scheduled, I'll do it. And that's true both of personal and professional events. So I will schedule going to the gym. I will schedule playing tennis.
How often do you do
And
sports every week?
5 days a week at least. So I'll go to the gym twice a week doing a high intensity interval training, and then I'll play tennis 3 times a week. Twice
That's
in a
amazing.
training mode, and once in a more competitive tournament mode.
Got it. That's amazing. What's your favorite social media platform for business?
Again, I don't really use these things. The only way I really use social media is to publish my writing. So I'll write a blog post, and then I'll post it on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. But I don't really use these tools for anything other than sharing thoughts, and
Got
maybe
it.
getting feedback on my thoughts. But I find all these things are like distractions.
Got it. Okay, last question, Fabrice. What do you wish you would have started when you were 20 years old?
Well, when I was 20, given the time we were in at that time, yeah, probably Craigslist. I could have done a much better job, and actually built liquidity very early. And so it's probably the company I could or should have built. I was 20. The In more recent times, I'd say Airbnb is the thing that I really love in terms of the way it works, the amount of underutilized assets, the experiences it creates, etc.
Got it. Okay. Thank you so much for being on the show, Fabrice.
No worries. Thank you. Bye.